Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Tomorrow's Weather Today. Today, I am going to be talking about a severe weather risk for the central United States tomorrow, June 24th, which is Thursday. So, as of right now, we have a large area of slight risk for severe weather tomorrow into tomorrow night, with a bullseye of enhanced risk in Missouri and extreme northwestern or northeastern parts of Kansas. I think there's a possibility that this does get extended out here tomorrow with tonight's outlook, and we will go over why. But for right now, there's a 5% chance for tornadoes in that enhanced area. 5% chance for tornadoes, and we have a 30% chance of wind there. But we also have this 15 hatch area into Kansas for significant wind gusts over 70 miles per hour. And large hail is also a possibility where we have that 30% chance. We could see the risks of wind and hail up into Wisconsin and Iowa, but I will be focusing on this area where the tornado risk is greatest. So looking at our NAM model, we are going to be looking at our NAM 3K. We're going to start off by looking at our dew points. Anywhere in this purple area is 70-degree dew points, while this blue is 60. So dew points are going to be relatively, they're going to be very sufficient down here with upwards of to the mid 70s. If we take it out a few more hours, 70s still going on there. So moisture at the surface isn't going to be a problem. If we look at our theta E values, very sufficient for thunderstorm development in this area. But again, we are looking, this is our main threat right in here for tornadoes, where theta E values are a little lower, but we will look that this might not matter. Looking at our temperatures, we can be getting up into the 90s to 100s tomorrow. Wherever you see these 70s, there's probably rain already happening, and it looks like some convection is firing in northwestern Kansas at this point in time. Looking at our reflectivity, yeah. So we have this area over here of possibly severe thunderstorms, and in northwestern Kansas, these will move out to the west over time. If we go out to 4Z, we can see that we have let's back it up a little bit so we can see the evolution of that. So we have this bowing segment in northeastern Kansas and into Missouri, probably headed to the southeast, and then we have this multicellular cluster where the damaging wind threat and hail is most likely. So taking it a few, going back to 3Z, we can see that this bowing segment diving southeastward, and this area continuing to chug along. And we can see that coming together as a large area of thunderstorms. Taking it back, I want to look at our mixed layer CAPE. So CAPE is very sufficient, upwards of 3,000 to 4,000, or 3,000, 4,000 in the highest places, with 1,500 in other. Looking at our SIN, which is our cap, it is very high in Missouri and Kansas. Let's look at our EHI, Energy Helicity Index. So right here, there is an outflow boundary from convection going on today, I believe. Yeah, so today we also have an enhanced risk in Nebraska, which is going to lay an outflow boundary, which is going to dive southward. And that's what this is right here. That's going to be a focus for storms tomorrow. Let's go back to reflectivity. And I want to take a sounding out here, but I want to do it before storms really get going. So let's take a sounding there. So I'm seeing some nice low-level lapse rates, which are going to help with the instability. Um, and we can see upwards of 1800 ml cape. Nice mid-level lapse rates too to increase that cape. Shear doesn't look overly impressive with SRH value of 95. Excuse me. Convective temperature is 99 degrees, which is very high, especially with the temperature of the sounding at 86. If we take this a few more hours, let's see if it gets up to there. So storms are now not going to be or aren't going to be um, surface based. I believe their cloud bases are going to be upwards up to 850 millibars, um, which isn't great for. But the convective temperature did drop and shear did increase over this time. Take it out another hour, we can see that shear in the low levels even gets better with that low level jet increasing. Nice lapse rates in the low levels, but a little bit of an inversion there, which won't help. But the LFCs are low. So surface-based storms are possible, and this is where our tornado threat would be. So again, I'm going to take another sounding out here in a different air spot. Um, shear looking great. Not great, but good for tornadoes. ML Cape looking good. LCL's low. LFC's a little high, but not horrible. Lapse rates are decent, marginal maybe. Um, and you can see there's a lot of low level turning with the winds, which causes rotate or spin in the atmosphere. I want to go to our 850 millibar wind. I want to take a look at our low level jet. So we have a low level jet of 40 to 45 knots, and that should increase throughout the night where it gets up to 45 knots. And then the 500 millibar winds again going across, which is helping with that shear. So I want to take a sounding right before these storms fire. So right now, let's take one like right in there. So these storms are firing, um, and there's some nice shear here with SRH values of 214 from 0 to 1 kilometer. LFC's LCLs are relatively high, um, which might mean that these storms aren't surface based, which would produce maybe a nice structure, but not a tornado. But there should be a good amount, excuse me, of streamwise vorticity along that outflow boundary that I was talking about. Let's see if we can go to here. So it's looking like the outflow boundary is probably in this area, um, extending from, it looks like there's a trough axis in this area, maybe even coming up here. So again, right along this right here, we can see our storm starting to fire right there. With with extra spin in the atmosphere, that is going to cause storms to start rotating, and in turn have a tornado threat. Also, if we can get these winds to be a little more backed at the surface, so more out of the east instead of the south, that will also help for tornadoes. And I'm just taking a look at our precipitable water values. Yeah, these might be HP storms, so if there are tornadoes, they will be very hard to see. So tomorrow might be a radar reliant day instead of chasers because these tornadoes, if any, would likely be rain wrapped. Um, so I want to go over to the HRRR, the 18Z run, to show what it's thinking compared to the NAM. So at 23Z, it's not seeing anything. 0Z storms are starting to fire. in northeastern Colorado and Kansas, and now you can see. So the difference between the NAM and the HRRR is the NAM is a very linear model. So I think this is probably a better solution for tomorrow as of right now, which could change. Yeah. So, and if we go back to 0Z before um, Storm's Fire, we can see that outflow boundary showing up on Cape. I believe it's right in here. Again, storms are going to be firing along that. If we go to dew point, dew point's again in the 70s, and we're getting that backed wind. The data E values are high into the 370s. Yeah, so that outflow boundary, I believe, is right in here. You can see that wind shift from the south turning to the north east. So that signifies a boundary right there, as there is a wind shift. Taking a look at our 850 millibar winds again, 30 to 40 knots. So not as strong as what the NAM was suggesting, but it is still there. So I want to take a sounding again in northeastern Kansas. Yeah, so this is a more tornadic environment as our LCLs are low. LFCs are a little high, and we do have that cap right there. So if that breaks, then storms will fire. Again, precipitable water values are high. ML Cape is looking pretty decent. Mid-level lapse rates are pretty good as well. SRH value is good. And we can see that we have that backed wind at the surface out of the southeast with a more southwesterly look at for the low-level jet, which causes our helicity, and there's a lot of turning in the atmosphere. Let's take this a few more steps. I want to look, oops, sorry for that. Let's look more into Missouri. Wow. That's pretty good, except for this cap. I mean, storms are firing if we show map. So that's below the storms, but I'm assuming that this environment is pretty similar to where I clicked. Um, so that cap where the storms are is gone. I want to take a sounding actually in front of that storm. Yeah. I'm ignoring this cap because once this, I think that storm will erode the cap as it moves into that environment. But again, we have that back surface wind and the strong low-level jet of 40 knots out of the southwest creates a lot of turning with the wind, with height, and that SRH value upwards of 240. Lapse rates are pretty good. Um, Again, precipitable water values are high, which isn't great um, for LP Classic to LP supercells. But that is it for today. And then lapse rates looking again around the 6 to 7 range for most of the area. But that is it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe so you never miss a new video, and I will see you all soon.